about this country called Kenya and the stuff that we're putting together across the world. I was in Barcelona the other day. Everybody's telling Africa's story except Africans. And we seem not to have this, or rather we need to create an environment that starts to promote the local Kenyans or the people who are building things from here and then exporting that talent to the world or that skill to the world or that technology to the world. Do you think that we are creating that environment? And I'm not asking government, I'm just asking because I think sometimes we want too much from government, but do we have an environment right now that is conducive for businesses to be created?
Yeah, the environment is changing. I think also the mindset of the Kenyan has been previously is that you go through the education system and then you look for a job. But I think the pressure of that there are not enough of those opportunities available has changed the mindset. So even the Kenyan, I know people who are in school not because they want to get employed, but they want to start something and they want to do their own thing. One, it allows you to pursue something that you really like and something that you believe in. So one, the mindset is changing. The environment is there to some extent. But I think what we may want to do more is to support ideas that are locally grown. I did mention about the story of Dimension Data, and one of the things that happened is that there was a stock market. There was an area where people could come in and contribute and grow an idea. And I think that's what we need to see more happening in our country, whereby if I have a good idea, there are people who can believe with me. And instead of just investing in real estate, maybe believe in an idea and help somebody actualize or grow that idea to an extent that it then can create, I don't know how many people have been employed in companies like mine, but you see, it's value to the economy. It is a whole society that is being uplifted through an idea that people believe in.
I'll come back to that in a minute. Let me ask Emma a question.
Yes.
Because you talked about ideas.
Yes.
And one of the problems, or one of the things as an entrepreneur that's quite frustrating is you have all these young people you want to help. They have all these great ideas, but everybody is scared that you want to steal their idea because you're a large company. So is Rockefeller doing anything to improve the environment or to fund some kind of access to the right legal access, pretty much to help in patents and to help with just, some of these great ideas that young people have, or just creating the right legal infrastructure?
Thank you for the question. I'd like to answer the first one and then perhaps maybe try and see if I can answer the second one. On the first one, I do think that this is a great environment for business creation. Kenya, along with many other African countries, have improved on their doing business rankings. So, for small businesses, there are issues of licensing, registration, and taxation. That's what small businesses struggle from. That environment is improving. It's not where it should be, but it's improving. I think the challenge is this a conducive environment for investment? So that now comes to your second question. If you ask, if this was a room of funders, they would tell you, we have money, we can't find investees. We can't find companies to invest our capital in. If this was a room of entrepreneurs, they'd say, we have great ideas, we can't find people to invest. What is happening? Where is the disconnect? And what is happening a lot is that there is a sense, and you said all gloves off, so let's just have the frank conversation, sure. that a lot of entrepreneurs feel like, again, someone's going to come and steal my idea, so they don't want to have an honest conversation with an investor, or they're concerned about giving up some ownership. They want to own everything and not share in some of that ownership. So when you have, you talked about mindset. The mindset that I see here is that there is this sense of, this is my idea, this is my thing, and I really don't, yes, you're an investor, but I don't really want you to share in it. The investor is taking risk, so therefore needs to share in the upside. And if there's not that understanding that there needs to be that partnership, then you won't have a thriving investment culture that will support entrepreneurship in this country.
What do you think causes that mindset? Because I do see it a lot. I do see people with great ideas, but we're all so scared someone's going to steal it. So from your experience, Sally, what's your view on You know, you've been working with Cisco for a while. You've been helping some of these young people come up and watch them grow. What's behind that mindset? Is it our education system? Is it what's caused us to be so fearful about owning 10% and not necessarily 99% of nothing?
Okay, the fear is born basically out of a couple of things. So I'll think of it as, and this is my opinion, not necessarily a Cisco opinion, but when I come up with a great idea, we've seen different people come up with great ideas, and at the end of the day, somebody else picks it up. We know the M-Pesa story, and we've seen some of the discussions around how different innovations, we need to understand that innovation, enterprise development is really the cradle for innovation. And when someone comes up with an activity or an entrepreneurship idea and probably do not have enough legal understanding, Kenya is not at the level where we have patenting of ideas or solutions. We've even seen our very own Kiondo and Kimono patented elsewhere outside of this country. It's such activities that have put the mindset of people to think that if I come up with a great idea and I share it with an investor, they probably will invest it in a big way because one, they have the money, two, they have the legal backing. I don't have any of that, and I'm possibly going to lose the idea. And I think it's very painful for people with great ideas to see a good solution implemented and they're getting nothing out of it. I think for government and a policy perspective, we need to be able to have open and honest conversations. How do we protect copyright rights of people who come up with ideas? How do we create an enabling environment for more innovation, at the same time protecting the interests of the people who come up with these innovations? Yeah. And I think it's a question that we need to ask ourselves as an outcome of this conference. As much as we talk about ICT is going to bring a lot of innovation into the country. But how are we going to protect and enhance innovative ideas to drive people to do things that are driving our economy? And how do we localize it to ourselves? There's a lot of coping. We want to do what the West is doing. We want to implement. I'll give an example of the PKI infrastructure. Very good for corporate, but how does it translate to the local person on the ground? Yet we have a good platform, which is an M-Pesa platform, where payments can actually be made. How many businesses can be made out of that? And why do we necessarily need to have a public key infrastructure to drive innovation?
Well, I think there's an education component, because I heard you say that you're now starting to teach classes around entrepreneurship, because I think some of the problem has been the makeup of entrepreneurs, because there is sadly a sense of entitlement. We come to the world with, maybe from an African perspective, that it's my idea, I came up with it, I'm entitled to it. And I've always understood whatever idea you have, there's probably 65,000 people in India that just got it this morning, and another 2 million in China that just got it. And the problem is not the ideas. And I think sometimes we put too much around novelty and patents, and yet the makeup of an entrepreneur should be just get back in the game, do it until it works. You will deal with all that stuff as it comes. From an education perspective, what are you, I mean, how can you teach entrepreneurship, first of all?
Well, entrepreneurship is a talent, and what anyone can hope for is to nourish that talent, develop the talent, but it has to be there ab initio. It has to be existing in the individual person. When you're talking about the ecosystem, I would like to suggest that we can learn from global best practices, where we see that there are three main players in promoting enterprise. There is industry, clearly. There is government. But what we need to build in Kenya is academia, the role of academia in evolving the industries of the future. Because all these young, bright people are going through a school system. And we need to get them when they are still pursuing whatever dreams they have. And I think what needs to happen is to build an environment like we've seen here today, in the last 2 days, where we have industry, we have government, and more importantly, we have more engagement with the universities, so that these bright ideas that are created by final year students, master students, PhD students, translate into an incubation park, where within the university environment, there are incubation facilities. Some people call them science parks, some people call them technology parks, some people call them industrial parks, whatever. We need, as Kenya, to move rapidly. And I have some experience. When I was chairman of council of Masinde Muliro, we actually established one of the first industrial technology parks. And we were able to get very bright final year students to do some creative work. And as you understand, the role of a university is to create the knowledge, to store the knowledge, and to disseminate. It is the environment in which intellectual property is created and protected. So going forward, what we need is to resolve, to find more innovative ways of getting the three arms of entrepreneurship, of enterprise development, to work more closely together. Perhaps create more structures that are probably more formal, so that every university that we have, and we have 22 public universities now, and an equal number of private universities, are engaged in protecting this output of our young talent in Kenya. Be it in performing arts, be it in drama, be it, which is performing arts, be it in the animation, be it in IT, all that needs, so that the creator of this innovation and new knowledge benefits. Because a lot of what we have seen in Kenya is beneficiaries offshore. And it's because the three arms are not yet working fully together. Thank you.
Mike, you've been an entrepreneur since you were 25. And my first business didn't do too well. It failed. Just, I'm just looking for the right words to quote it, but it failed. And I met the owner, the founder of Box, who failed 6 times, but every time people still put money behind his cause. And one of the things in the ecosystem that we're talking about to support, because the people are going to come up with these great ideas, but if the ecosystem doesn't work for that individual, either they're going to give up on the concept or totally take it outside of Kenya, with us losing the opportunity to brand some great new innovations. So how did you deal with failure? Have you ever failed?
Maybe.
I think it's an interesting question, but I'll answer the question by explaining how I perceive entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is an everyday process, okay? It's not like one day you're an entrepreneur, the next day you're not. Every day, there are opportunities as an entrepreneur that you see. And if entrepreneurship is an everyday process, it's also having the sight beyond the normal everyday life and turning the same into monetary and social capital. What does that mean? I could sit here, for instance, I was sitting here and I could see 5 opportunities. Just sitting this week, I was saying, if I was not doing IT, I could be doing this, I could be doing this, I could be doing this. I thought to myself, there are many opportunities. I'm sure entrepreneurship is seeing those opportunities on an everyday life, right? For instance, your business is about nano credit. You saw an opportunity, okay? It's about a need, it's about everyday life, right? So you fail, naturally. You fail in small ways, but also you make headways in a bigger way. So there are times when you make wrong hiring decisions, wrong investments, but sometimes the bigger objective is generally achieved. So you look at a graph where it's not necessarily straight, but it has small in, down and up, but eventually the net curve is upwards. Is that correct? That's how I see failure, and that's how I see the future. So if you fail today, it was maybe part of your graph that went down, but your bigger objective, today your company is $300 million, right? So your small failures eventually had a much bigger curve. So the challenge is getting up in the morning and knowing that you may fail, but having that opportunity to know that it's one that you need to have the courage. And that courage does not come from crowds. You need to be able to have that internal belief that you can be successful. right? And I'm a very big advocate in terms of this marketplace about protecting SMEs, right? Bringing policies for SMEs. I don't do that because I'll succeed. I believe in lighting a candle. If I have a lit candle and I help another person light a candle, we all have light, right? So constantly by ensuring there are other successful entrepreneurs in this marketplace, then we are able to have a bigger union, right, of driving change in this marketplace.